The slap cracked through first class like a thunderclap. The sound did not just shake the air. It struck straight into a woman's dignity. Brooke Daniels, 41, year-old head flight attendant, glared coldly, her handprint still burning red on the cheek of Nyla Carter, a black woman dressed in worn jeans and sneakers with frayed heels. In that moment, the entire cabin froze. The white light from the ceiling illuminated Nyla's face. The red welt etched on her skin hurt not only in flesh, but scorched deep into her pride. She did not fall, did not cry. She only stood in silence, her dark eyes swallowing the quiet. Yet that very silence only drove the one who struck her further into rage. "Fraud," Brooke hissed, snatching the ticket from her hand, ripping it to shreds and tossing it to the floor like garbage. "Get on your knees, pick it up, then crawl back to economy, where you belong." The sharp smack of paper hitting the floor tore open the air. 30 passengers, dressed in crisp suits and glittering gowns, all locked their eyes on the scene. Some raised their phones, their lenses trembling, their eyes lit with the thrill of free entertainment. Somewhere a whisper rose. Finally, someone's dealing with the imposters. Nyla did not move. Inside her head, each heartbeat thundered. She knew that if she bent down just once, she would lose more than a ticket. She would lose her very worth. That she would not allow. Brooke could not endure such defiance. Her voice climbed higher, slicing through the cabin. "Are you deaf? I said kneel!" Her hand shoved hard into Nyla's shoulder, trying to force her down. But Nyla stood firm, every muscle tight as steel. Her eyes, though rimmed red, remained eerily calm. The shove made her stumble against the soft leather seat. Laughter trickled out from some, amused by the humiliation. An elderly man in a three-piece suit muttered to his wife, "In my day, people knew their place." The woman beside him clutched her purse tighter, whispering, "I don't feel safe with her on this plane." Just a few rows away, Tessa Vaughn, a 29-year-old influencer with wavy blonde curls, angled her phone camera perfectly. The numbers ticked up fast. 500, 800, 200 viewers flooding her live stream. She gasped theatrically, hand over mouth. "Oh my God, do you see this? There's a fake in first class, and our crew is handling it perfectly." Comments flooded in. "Kick her out now." "Yes, these people waste everyone's time." "Throw her off the plane." While the crowd reveled, Nyla felt a familiar weight pressing down. The weight of being dismissed for her plain clothes, her dark skin, her worn shoes. She studied each face, each narrowed glance dripping with contempt, and wondered, how many more times must a person prove their worth just to be treated as human? Grant Ellison, the 52-year-old ground supervisor, burst into the cabin, panting. He did not spare Nyla a glance, only addressed Brooke. "What's happening here?" "She's using a fake ticket. She resisted when I asked for her ride," Brooke declared with confidence. Grant scanned Nyla from head to toe. Faded jeans, plain white t-shirt, old sneakers. One look was enough for him to pass judgment. "Show me your ID and ticket. Now!" "My ticket." Nyla's voice was steady. She tore it up. Brooke's mocking laugh rang out. Several passengers chuckled with her, treating it as proof of guilt. In the front row, a middle-aged businessman tapped into a group chat. "There's a show. Some woman pretending in first class." Replies popped up instantly. "Kick her off already." Airport security would arrive in minutes. Brooke knew it. Grant knew it. And Nyla knew it too. But only she knew one more truth. When they called security, when they prepared to expel her from seat 2A, they had no idea they were insulting the most powerful woman on this aircraft. In that instant, Nyla was not just enduring a slap. She was sparking a storm that would tear away false masks, rip open prejudice, and reveal a shocking truth. The woman they scorned was, in fact, the CEO and majority shareholder of Aurora Airways. She drew a deep breath, her hand tightening on the strap of her worn messenger bag. In her eyes glinted a light. The light of someone who knew that silence was only the preparation for a thunderous counterstrike. The electronic voice at the gate echoed, "Flight 882, final call." The clock on the screen blinked coldly. Time kept moving, while first class had turned into a cramped stage where every eye was fixed on one woman. Nyla Carter still stood tall, her cheek burning red, but her voice was calm, almost frighteningly so. "My ticket has been destroyed." The words were sharp, clean, slicing through the thick air like a blade. Brooke Daniels let out a mocking laugh. "That cheap trick won't fool anyone." She turned, grinding her heel into the shredded pieces of paper, crushing them underfoot, and lifted her chin. "This is the fate of forged documents." The audience in the cabin was half amused, half tense. Some took photos, some live-streamed, but not a single person spoke in her defense. They sat back in their leather seats, sipping wine, letting a woman be humiliated in public. Grant Ellison pulled out his radio, his voice clipped. "Ground control, this is Ellison. We need security immediately. Disruptive passenger in first class." The call went out like a hammer blow against Nyla's chest. But she did not move. Within minutes, Malik O'Neill, a 34-year-old security officer, appeared, his broad shoulders blocking the aisle, his hand resting lightly on the cuffs at his belt. Behind him was Officer Miguel Alvarez, 37, his face cold as ice. Their arrival drew every gaze. "What's the problem?" Alvarez asked, his voice steady and firm. Grant jumped in quickly, pointing straight at Nyla. "Passenger with a fake ticket, refuses to leave, resisted the crew." Brooke added, her eyes alight like someone who had just won a game. "I tried to check, but she screamed and resisted. She's clearly a professional fraud." Nyla stayed silent, her eyes scanning each face that circled around her. Faces flushed with anger, glee, or indifference. In the harsh white light, they did not see a woman. They saw only a criminal, fabricated by prejudice. Tessa Vaughn leaned her phone in closer, whispering into her live stream. "Oh my God, you're watching a fraud in first class unfold live. This is insane." The viewer count skyrocketed. 4,000, 6,000, 8,000. Comments poured across the screen. "Kick her out now. No mercy. This is why flights are delayed." Alvarez stepped closer, light flashing off the steel cuffs at his side. "Ma'am, I need you to collect your belongings and come with us. We'll resolve this at the gate." Nyla drew a slow breath. Her voice was low but unwavering. "Before I am escorted away, I need to make one call. The cabin rippled with shock. Brooke sneered, folding her arms. Who do you think you're calling? A lawyer? An accomplice? Grant gave a cold nod to security. Take her out now. Don't waste any more time. But in that very moment, Nyla placed her hand on the strap of her worn messenger bag. The gesture was deliberate, calculated. Malik's voice snapped sharp. Keep your hand still. Don't pull anything out. Nyla's eyes did not blink. From deep within them, a different light flickered. She spoke slowly, every word edged with steel. If you want to know the magnitude of the mistake you're about to make, let me show you the only proof that matters. The cabin held its breath. Phone cameras trembled. Tessa whispered into her stream, "Oh my God, this is golden footage." Nyla calmly unlocked her bag and pulled out a worn leather folder. The cover was old, its corners frayed, but the embossed logo gleamed under the cabin lights. A chill swept through the aisle. Alvarez frowned. Malik narrowed his eyes. Brooke faltered for the first time. Grant chuckled dismissively. Pathetic. She thinks a few fake documents will fool us. Nyla paid no attention. She opened the folder, and on the very first page, an ID card gleamed, its words cutting through the cabin like a blade. 4 bold letters, sharp as a sword. Chief Executive Officer, E. Aurora Airways. Silence fell like a storm. The entire cabin drowned in a deafening quiet. The woman they called a fraud had just revealed herself as the true master of the skies. Brooke froze, her hand trembling. Grant swallowed hard. Tessa's eyes widened as her live stream erupted. Unbelievable! She's the CEO! And in that moment, Nyla simply smiled. Not the smile of triumph, but the quiet smile of someone who had known the ending all along. That silence, sometimes, is the strongest weapon of all. The entire first-class cabin erupted like a hornet's nest struck open. Whispers, shouts, the scraping of chairs, and hurried footsteps filled the air. A few passengers rushed closer to see, phones raised, cameras flashing non-stop. On Tessa Vaughan's live stream, the viewer count leapt from 10,000 to 15,000 in less than a minute. No way, Brooke Daniels stammered. Her skin was pale, her eyes wide as if she had seen a ghost. This must be fake. But deep down, she knew the golden seal and the silver watermark could never be forged. Grant Ellison's hand shook as he clutched his radio, sweat pouring down his face. One thought drilled into his skull. I just humiliated the head of the company. Decades of career gone to ash in a single instant. And Nyla Carter? She stood at the eye of the storm, still as stone. The CEO badge caught the cabin light, gleaming cold and undeniable. Every eye locked onto her, eyes that had moments ago brimmed with scorn, now trembling between fear and shock. Ladies and gentlemen, Nyla began. Her voice did not rise, yet it carried across the entire cabin. Perhaps it is time we speak about the truth. At that very moment, her bag vibrated sharply. Her phone lit up. 15 missed calls. Board of directors. Tessa's camera zoomed in, her online audience going wild. Comments flooded in. Best movie of the year. Oh my God, the CEO was slapped on her own airline. Justice is here. Grant pressed his radio to his ear in panic. "Patricia, we have a situation," a cold female voice shot back. Fiona Park, Regional Director. "Ellison, what is happening? Social media is exploding. Is the passenger being dragged off, really? The CEO?" Grant swallowed hard, his voice trembling. I'm not sure." Nyla tilted her head, her deep black eyes drilling through him. "You know very well, Ellison. And you just summoned security to put handcuffs on your own boss." Gasps filled the cabin. A few passengers stared, mouths hanging open. A businessman who had mocked her minutes before stuttered, I didn't know. I'm sorry." Meanwhile, Brooke backed away until her spine pressed against the cabin wall. The sting of the slap still burned on her hand, now transformed into an iron shackle tightening around her chest. Each second that passed hammered the truth deeper. Nyla's voice remained steady and cold. "You saw my faded jeans, my worn shoes, and you decided I did not belong here. But not one of you asked, if this ticket were legitimate, if this woman truly had the right to sit in first class, what then? You chose judgment first, and now you are learning the price of that judgment." The live stream exploded. Viewership shot past 20,000. The hashtag #CEO reveal blazed across screens, spreading like wildfire. Officer Miguel Alvarez, who had kept his grip on the cuffs, slowly lowered his hand. He glanced at Nyla, then at Grant, then at Brooke. Every vein in his face stood taut. He understood. If he dared place those cuffs on the CEO, his career would end in ruin. Malik O'Neill, the security officer, stepped back half a pace. His voice rasped. "Ms. Carter, please give us direction. We were given false information." Nyla did not answer right away. She scanned the cabin. 30 faces, moments ago smug and entertained, now timid and ashamed, and thousands of unseen faces watching through the live stream, holding their breath for what came next. She closed the folder gently, her hand resting on the worn leather cover. "I did not come here for revenge," she said, her voice warm but edged with steel. "I came here to face the sickness within my own company, and today, I have seen it." The air tightened. Many thought her next words would be the death sentence for Brooke and Grant. But Nyla paused, letting silence stretch taut like a drawn string. Then a faint, inscrutable smile touched her lips, a smile no one could decipher as mercy or as the signal of the storm yet to come. The cabin was silent, broken only by the low hum of the engines and the pounding heartbeats of those inside. Nyla Carter still stood tall, her eyes blazing as if to burn through every layer of hypocrisy in front of her. Then from within her worn leather portfolio, she drew out a thick file, the edges of the paper fluttering in the cold air of the cabin. "Do you think today is just a misunderstanding?" Nyla's voice was steady, slow, deliberate. "No. This is a system, and I have the proof." A wave of murmurs rose, then collapsed into silence as she turned the first page. Bold black letters on white paper. Discrimination Investigation. Aurora Airways. 18 months. 40. 7 cases. Brooke Daniels' jaw dropped. Grant Ellison's sweat poured like rain. Captain Harold Kent, who had just stepped out of the cockpit, froze as if turned to stone. Nyla raised the first-color photograph. A Muslim passenger, her eyes red with tears, denied a Ramadan meal. "This," Nyla said, "was Brooke Daniels. You told the passenger it was company policy not to serve her." Brooke staggered, as if the floor had split beneath her. I don't remember." Her voice quivered, but Nyla didn't allow her to finish. The next page revealed an image of a Hispanic family being escorted out of first class. "This was Grant Ellison," Nyla pointed directly. "You claimed noisy children as the reason, while white families, louder than they were, remained undisturbed." Grant's mouth hung open, his hands trembling around his radio. Every glare from the passengers pierced him like a knife. Nyla turned another page. This time, the cabin erupted when the written testimony of crew members described Captain Kent. Repeated inappropriate remarks about female passengers' clothing, even making advances. Kent's face shifted from flushed pink to ashen grey. The silver badge on his chest suddenly looked like a burden too heavy to bear. Breaths came fast and shallow. A young passenger, live streaming alongside Tessa Vaughan, burst into tears. "Oh my God, they've been doing this all along." Comments flashed across screens. 47 cases? Unreal. The evidence is undeniable. This crew is finished. If the CEO herself was slapped, what chance does an ordinary passenger have? Tessa's hands shook as she held her phone, whispering into her mic. "Everyone, this isn't about a fake ticket anymore. This is a full-scale investigation. This is the raw truth." The viewer count skyrocketed. 25,000, 30,000, 35,000. Nyla shut the file with a sharp snap that echoed like a verdict. 47 cases, all documented, and all tied to the 3 people standing right here. Brooke collapsed into a seat, her face ghostly pale. Grant blinked rapidly, desperate for an escape but finding none. Kent tried to speak. I gave 30. 7 years I didn't." But his voice was thin, swallowed by the rising murmurs of outrage. Nyla swept her gaze across the cabin. The faces that once looked smug now quivered with fear. But deeper in their eyes, she saw something else. Awakening. A few bowed their heads, realizing they too had joined in, laughed or cheered while she was humiliated. "And you?" Nyla's gaze locked on the passengers, her tone cold as steel. "You are part of this system. When you clapped, when you mocked, you fueled the injustice. Do not think silence makes you innocent. Silence is complicity." No one dared to speak. A woman who had shouted for Nyla's removal now lowered her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. An old man mumbled, I was wrong." At that moment, Nyla's phone rang. On the screen, Leonard Briggs, chairman of the board. She pressed speaker. His urgent, trembling voice filled the cabin. "Nyla, I'm watching the live stream. The whole country is watching. Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Nyla answered, her eyes never leaving the trembling faces around her. "But Aurora Airways is not, and we must change. Starting here. Starting now." First class was consumed by a heavy silence. No one moved. No one dared breathe too loud. And in that silence, Nyla Carter had begun a revolution. The air inside the cabin was so thick it felt like it could be sliced apart. Nyla Carter closed the file, her gaze sharp as a blade sweeping across every face. Then she slowly placed another document onto the folding tray. The cover bore bold letters: Financial Impact Analysis, Aurora Airways. A murmur rippled through the cabin. Brooke Daniels covered her face with her hands, whispering, "Dear God, what else is there?" Nyla opened the first page, her voice not loud but so clear that every word struck like a hammer to the ear. In the airline industry alone, the average cost of a discrimination lawsuit is $2.3 million, including legal fees, damages, and federal fines. Aurora Airways has logged 47 cases in just 18 months. Do the math. Swallowing echoed around the cabin. Grant Ellison swayed as though he had just heard of his own bankruptcy. A passenger whispered, just loud enough for the live stream microphone to catch, "My God, over 100 million." Nyla nodded, confirming the fear. Correct. 100 million is a conservative figure. But that is not the greatest disaster. She pulled out a color chart, red columns plunging to the bottom of the page. Every public scandal on social media causes an average stock drop of 4.2% in 24 hours. With Aurora Airways' current market cap, that means nearly $890 million vanish because of the ignorance and prejudice of a handful of employees. Gasps ripped through the cabin. A woman clutched her chest as though struck by lightning. A businessman fumbled for his phone, opening his stock app, his face draining pale as he saw Aurora Airways' shares plummeting by the minute. "You thought today was just an argument with a passenger in jeans?" Nyla's voice thundered. "No. Today is the day Aurora Airways lost nearly $1 billion. And it all began with this slap." She pointed to her cheek, where the red mark still burned. Brooke broke into tears, mascara streaking down her face, looking pitiful like a discarded doll. Captain Harold Kent pressed a hand to his forehead, sweat pouring, his once proud shoulders trembling like a collapsing tower. Meanwhile, Tessa Vaughan's live stream exploded. The viewer count surged past 45,000, comments flooding in. 890 million? I'm watching history. Karma delivers instantly. Nyla was not finished. She pulled out another folder, stamped bright red. Federal Aviation Regulation, Part 382, Air Carrier Access Act, Title 7, Civil Rights Act. "What you did today," she read slowly, each word like a blow of a hammer, "was not just unprofessional. It was a federal violation, assaulting a passenger, destroying lawful documents, filing false reports to security, open racial discrimination. Each charge can take you to court, and each conviction can mean 2 years in federal prison." Brooke's head shot up, sobbing. "No, I have a family. I didn't mean to," Grant gasped, his face flushed, eyes darting desperately for escape. Kent muttered, trembling. "Impossible. This can't be happening." Nyla stared at them without a shred of pity. "I don't need excuses, because the truth is being live-streamed to tens of thousands, because shareholders are flooding my phone with calls. And because the Department of Transportation has already opened a case. Her phone rang again. On the screen, Secretary Laura Reeves, Department of Transportation. The number lit up for everyone watching the live stream, sending thousands of online viewers into a frenzy. Nyla answered, putting it on speaker. A firm female voice echoed through the cabin. Ms. Carter, we have seen what is happening. The DOTA is officially launching an industry-wide investigation. We request your cooperation. The cabin fell into dead silence. Tessa whispered shakily into her camera. Everyone, the government has stepped in. This isn't just a flight. This is a national case. Nyla closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. Then she opened them, steel flashing in her gaze. I will cooperate fully, but first I will make a decision here and now. She turned her eyes to Brooke, Grant, Kent. Three faces twisted in fear, broken, stunned, and the entire first-class cabin, those who had cheered her humiliation minutes earlier, now sat frozen, holding their breath. You, Nyla said, her voice like the toll of fate's bell, have exactly two choices: suspension and retraining, or termination and prosecution. The choice is yours. But time, she glanced at her watch, is 30 seconds. A ping from the cabin system rang at the same moment. The electronic board flashed 15 minutes to departure. The airplane had transformed into a courtroom in motion, where the verdict could determine not only careers and freedom, but nearly $1 billion of Aurora Airways' future. First class had become a courtroom in crisis. There was no whispering, no shuffling of seats. Everyone held their breath, watching every move of Nyla Carter, the woman they had just humiliated, now standing tall like the judge of fate. Her eyes locked on each of them. First, Brooke Daniels, mascara streaking, eyes red and swollen, hands trembling as they clutched the edge of her seat. Then Grant Ellison, his face flushed, throat dry, beads of sweat rolling down like proof of his downfall. Finally, Captain Harold Kent, once proud grey hair now bowed low, his weary eyes lost like a fallen tower. Nyla's voice cut through the air, each word carving deep. The three of you have two choices. 1. Suspension, retraining, and a public apology. 2. Permanent dismissal, career ban, and criminal prosecution. And your choice will be recorded here before every witness in this cabin, and before tens of thousands watching live. Hearts pounded like war drums. On Tessa Vaughan's live stream, the viewer count surged. 50? 5,000. 60,000. Comments flooded the screen. Make them choose now. Karma live. This is aviation history. Grant lifted his radio with shaking hands, mumbling, I need to call for instructions. Nyla cut him off, her voice steel. You have 20 seconds. No one can save you from this truth. Brooke broke down, sobbing, her voice echoing through the cabin. I choose option 1. I have 2 small children. I can't lose everything. Nyla gave a small nod, noting it. Her gaze pierced Captain Kent. He swallowed hard, voice hoarse. I also choose 1. I have flown for 37 years, never thought this day would come. But if I have one chance to make it right, I will take it. The cabin held its breath, Only Grant Ellison remained, his lips pressed tight, eyes darting wildly for escape. But there was none. At last his voice cracked, barely a whisper. One. I choose one. Nyla closed the file with a sharp snap, like a gavel striking down. Good. Your decisions have been declared, and they have been witnessed by more than 60,000 people worldwide. From this moment, nothing can be erased. A tremor spread through the cabin. Passengers who had mocked and jeered at Nyla now bowed their heads in shame. Some whispered, "I'm sorry." Others turned their faces away to avoid her eyes. Then a phone rang. On Nyla's screen lit up. Patricia Walsh, corporate legal. She pressed speaker. Ms. Carter, stock is down 5% and falling. Global media is reporting non-stop. The board has granted you full authority to manage this crisis. Every decision you make will be executed immediately. A wave of comments crashed onto the live stream. The CEO is powerful. That's real leadership. I want her for president. Nyla smiled faintly, not in triumph, but with resolve. She looked once more at Brooke, Grant, Kent. You have chosen, but do not mistake this choice for safety. This is only the beginning of what you must face. Retraining is not to save your careers. It is your last chance to reclaim the dignity you lost. The cabin was silent. Only the boarding chime from the airport drifted in, reminding them the flight had not yet taken off. But everyone knew the real journey had already begun, the flight toward a very different Aurora Airways. Nyla turned to the passengers, her voice cold but heavy with force. And as for you, those who stayed silent, those who laughed when I was humiliated, remember this moment. Next time you witness injustice, you will have to choose. Stay silent and enable it, or stand up and change it. On the live stream, comments poured in. I promise I won't be silent again. She just woke up the world. This isn't just a flight. This is a life lesson. Nyla folded her portfolio, standing tall, her eyes sharp as a spear. Now we continue the flight. But Aurora Airways will never be the same again. First class was no longer just an airplane cabin. It had become an emergency boardroom for an entire corporation. White light poured down on Nyla Carter's face, the red mark of the slap burning like a scar of history. She opened the portfolio once more, this time not with evidence of guilt, but with the embossed reform blueprint of Aurora Airways. Nyla's voice rang out, clear and steel, hard. Tonight, right here, Aurora Airways will change. A wave of murmurs rippled across the cabin. Tessa Vaughn whispered shakily into her camera, the live stream count soaring, 70,000 viewers watching live. Comments flashed across the screen. Policies on the spot? This is a real CEO. We are watching history. Nyla raised a page, bold letters, striking like a hammer. First, all flight attendants and front-line staff must complete 40 hours of unconscious bias training within 60 days. Failure to complete means termination. No exceptions. Brooke Daniel sobbed uncontrollably, her shoulders shaking, but Nyla did not look back. Second, the Passenger Rights app will launch next month. Passenger who feels discriminated against can report directly. The system will send the complaint straight to the Office of Passenger Equity, overseen by a civil rights attorney. A young passenger, eyes still red from regret, blurted out, That should have existed long ago. Third, any discrimination complaint will trigger immediate suspension until investigation is complete. No more cover-ups, no more silence. Captain Harold Kent collapsed into his seat, his wrinkled face carved deep with despair. Fourth, Aurora Airways will establish a $50 million equity fund annually. This fund will support anti-discrimination initiatives and minority community programs. The cabin fell into dead silence. A white woman in seat 1C nodded softly, her lips trembling. That is true justice. Fifth, every manager's bonus, including regional directors, will be tied directly to minority passenger satisfaction scores and reduced discrimination incidents. No improvement, no bonus. Simple. Murmurs erupted. A businessman scrambled to pull out his phone, firing off an email. Aurora just announced historic policies. Stock is about to rebound strong. Nyla closed the document, her gaze sweeping across the cabin. This is not a declaration in a boardroom. This is a declaration in front of those who witnessed injustice, who laughed when it happened. And from today, no one will be allowed to say, "I didn't know." Her phone rang again. The screen lit up. Secretary Laura Reeves, Department of Transportation. Her voice carried through the cabin. "Ms. Carter, the DOT will work with you to standardize these policies across the entire industry. You have our full support." The live stream exploded. More than 75,000 viewers. Comments cascaded. "Make all airlines follow Aurora. She is the hero of our time." "Justice is flying tonight." Brooke sobbed. "Please give me a chance, Nyla looked directly at her, voice firm. "Chance no longer lies in begging. Chance lies in change. And starting tomorrow, every Aurora employee must choose, change or leave." A hush fell. But this silence was no longer one of complicity. It was silence of awakening. Many passengers lowered their heads. Some nodded slightly as if to say, "We understand now." Nyla closed the portfolio, locking it shut. From this moment forward, Aurora Airways will fly with justice. The plane had not yet taken off, but everyone knew. The entire aviation industry had just entered a new era. First class was as silent as a cathedral during prayer. Every eye fixed on Nyla Carter, the woman who had just turned the cabin into a courtroom and laid the foundation for industry, wide reform. But now it was time to go further, not just to announce policies, but to enforce discipline on the spot. Nyla stood tall, her shoulders relaxed but her eyes sharp as blades. "We have spoken of justice on paper. Now comes justice in action." She turned to Brooke Daniels. The 41-year-old woman looked pitiful, mascara running down her cheeks, lips trembling, hands clutching the edge of her seat as if holding on to life itself. Nyla did not blink. "Brooke Daniels, you are suspended immediately without pay. Within 48 hours, you are to report to Human Resources for disciplinary proceedings. This is an official decision." Brooke broke down, sobbing, her hands covering her face, her muffled cries echoing through the cabin. But no one felt pity anymore. The memory of that cruel slap was still etched in everyone's mind. Next, Nyla turned to Grant Ellison. Once commanding and loud, now hunched, his hands twisting, his whole body shaking. Nyla's tone was cold and sharp. "Grant Ellison, from this moment forward, You are demoted from field manager to baggage handler. Your pay is cut to tools to entry level. You will complete 160 hours of ethics and unconscious bias training before you can even be considered for any supervisory role again. Grant staggered like a man receiving a death sentence. His voice cracked. "Please, I have a child in college." Nyla cut him off, her voice like ice. "You should have thought of your child before demeaning someone else's dignity." Then she turned to Captain Harold Kent. Once proud in uniform, now his palms were slick with sweat, his eyes staring blankly like a man lost at sea. "Harold Kent, you are stripped of your international captaincy and restricted to short domestic routes. Your pay is reduced by 40%. You will undergo psychological evaluation and ethics training before you can ever touch a long-haul cockpit again." Kent squeezed his eyes shut, his voice hoarse. 37 years, and this is how it ends. Nyla raised her head, her voice ringing like a bell. "No, Captain Kent, it does not end here. This is where you learn again how to treat people." A heavy silence filled the cabin. But this time, it was not silence of fear. It was silence of acknowledgement. Everyone understood justice was unfolding before their eyes. Nyla paused, then turned toward the cabin door, where Dana Cho, the middle-aged gate supervisor, had stood silently observing from the start. She had not joined the mob, and she had dared to question Grant when he hastily accused Nyla. "Dana Cho," Nyla's voice warmed, "you showed integrity when everyone else stayed silent. Right here, I appoint you Regional Operations Director. Your first task is to implement the reforms I just announced." Dana froze, her eyes brimming. She nodded, voice trembling but firm. "I promise I will not let you down." A smattering of applause broke out. At first one, then two, then spreading. Unlike the mocking claps from when Nyla was humiliated, these carried respect and awakening. Tessa Vaughn nearly cried as she spoke to tens of thousands of viewers. "Everyone, we just witnessed a CEO disciplining her crew mid-flight. This is not a movie. This is real." The livestream count surged to 85,000. Comments flooded in. "This is true leadership. Respect Nyla Carter. Reform in the sky." Nyla closed the portfolio, took a deep breath, and raised her head, her voice steady yet resonant. "Today, it is not only 3 people who bear responsibility. All of us, from the passengers who stayed silent to those who joined in mockery, are links in the chain of injustice. I have chosen change. And you must choose too." No one dared breathe too loud. Many passengers bowed their heads, some with tears in their eyes. And on the live stream, thousands of viewers typed in unison, "We choose change." The only sound in first class was the pounding of hearts mixed with the relentless vibration of the phone in Nyla Carter's bag. The screen lit up. Leonard Briggs, chairman of the board. Nyla switched to speaker. Leonard's voice came through, urgent, tinged with panic. "Nyla, the entire board is in emergency session. Global media is reporting every second. Aurora stock has plunged nearly 6%, but it is now surging back. People are chanting your name. The board is unanimous. Full authority is in your hands. We will sign any resolution you enact." The cabin froze. Tessa Vaughn panned her camera across the seats, her voice trembling. Everyone. She has just been given full control. This is not all, just a CEO. This is someone changing history in mid-air. The live stream count leapt to 90,000. Comments flooded like waves. This is a lesson for the entire world. Aurora from collapse to hero. Stock soaring with justice. Nyla smiled faintly, her eyes blazing with determination. Leonard, tell the board. From this moment, Aurora Airways officially enacts the Henderson Protocols. Not a draft, not a proposal. This is law. She turned to the entire cabin, her voice ringing like bronze. You are the first witnesses of a new era. Today, Aurora is not only changing how we fly, but how we see humanity. The phone rang again. This time, it was the Department of Transportation. Secretary Laura Reeves's voice filled the cabin, firm, yet filled with excitement. Ms. Carter, the government welcomes the measures you have just announced. We will work with you to make them federal standards. Aurora Airways will be remembered in history as the pioneer of justice in aviation. Cheers erupted across the live stream. Comments poured in. This is a revolution in the skies. One woman, one slap, one global change. Brooke Daniels sat hunched, her face streaked with tears, whispering, all of this, from one mistake of mine. Nyla glanced at her, her voice no longer icy but steady and somber. No, Brooke, not from your mistake alone, from the silence of an entire system. And because of that, today's change is all the more necessary. Grant Ellison bowed his head, muttering, I never thought. One biased decision could burn nearly $1 billion in minutes. Nyla's reply was resolute. Value is not measured in money alone, Ellison. But if nearly $1 billion is what it takes to open this system's eyes, then it is a price worth paying. Captain Harold Kent shook his head slightly, eyes fixed on the window, where the crimson sunset reflected against the fuselage. He murmured, 37 years, and today I see a woman in faded jeans as the true commander of the skies. A sudden round of applause broke out, at first hesitant, then growing, then rolling through the cabin. No jeering, no mocking laughter, only respect. The live stream exploded. 90. 5,000. Watching. Comments raged. This is the leader of the century. I will book Aurora right away. Justice flies high. Nyla raised her hand, calling the cabin to quiet. Her voice dropped, warm yet carrying undeniable strength. Today we are not only flying to New York. Today we are flying to a future where every passenger, no matter their skin color, attire, or wallet, is respected equally. That is the real flight. Her gaze swept the cabin. An elderly man in the front row rose, his voice shaking. Ms. Carter, I once stayed silent. I am ashamed of it. But from today, I promise I will never again be silent in the face of injustice. Nyla nodded gently, her eyes gleaming. In that moment, first class was no longer a space of fares and privilege. It became the birthplace of a new philosophy, justice in the skies. The familiar sound of the intercom echoed, "Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for departure." But in first class, no one thought this was just another flight. Everyone could feel it clearly. History was taking off. Nyla Carter sat down in seat 2A, the place once stolen from her with a humiliating slap. Her hand gently brushed the armrest, her eyes deep and steady. The entire cabin watched her every move, silent as if any word spoken would shatter the sacred moment. The plane slowly rolled down the runway. Outside the window, the sunset painted the sky red, but inside, the light came from somewhere else, from the faith that had just been ignited. Tessa Vaughn still held her phone, her eyes wet with tears. Everyone, we are not just witnessing, we are living history. A CEO humiliated on her own flight, and in just 1 hour, she has turned the entire industry upside down. The live stream soared past 100,000 viewers. Comments poured in like waves. The Henderson Protocols will change the world. I am crying for real. Justice is airborne. Grant Ellison sat with his head down, eyes vacant. Brooke Daniels still wept, but no longer from fear, rather from the weight of late realization. Captain Harold Kent stared out at the blazing horizon, his shoulders trembling. Nyla opened her laptop, the screen glowing. The email subject line stood bold. Today, we choose change. Her fingers moved swiftly, each word appearing as if etched in stone. In the next 3 months, Aurora will become the first airline in the world to weave justice into every flight. Every employee will undergo retraining. Every passenger will have the right to report instantly. And every manager will live with true accountability. Today we are not just flying, we are rewriting the definition of fairness. Send. A chime sounded. The message had left the cabin, soaring into the digital sky, spreading across the world. 3 months later, Aurora Airways headquarters in Dallas. On the 42nd floor, the CEO's office glowed with light. The walls were lined with framed headlines, the slap heard around the world. Henderson Protocols, when justice took flight. American aviation enters a new era. Nyla stood by the glass window, looking out over the shimmering city. In her hand was the latest report. Discrimination complaints down 82%. Minority passenger satisfaction up 40%. 6%. Aurora stock up 20%. 1% since the incident. A new message appeared on her phone. Sender. Brooke Daniels. Finished my 40th training session today. Next week I will stand before new recruits and tell my story. Thank you for giving me the chance to make it right. B. Nyla smiled softly. Change was not only written into policy, it lived in the hearts of people. Tessa Vaughn now ran her own channel with 2 million followers. Her bio read, "Witnessing change, speaking truth, learning every day." Her latest video showed a black passenger being warmly welcomed at the gate, captioned, "Aurora today, a world apart." News flooded in. Delta, United, Southwest, all had adopted the Henderson Protocols. The Department of Transportation had formally codified them into federal law. Civil rights groups hailed it as the greatest social advance in aviation in half a century. One afternoon, Nyla once again boarded a flight, still in her faded jeans and worn sneakers. But this time, there were no suspicious stares. A flight attendant bowed slightly. "Welcome aboard, Miss Carter. It is our honor to serve you." She sat in seat 2A, opened her laptop, and began writing her weekly blog. 3 months ago, I was slapped because people thought I did not belong. But the important thing was not the sting on my cheek. The important thing was that hundreds of thousands of people awakened. Change does not begin with power in your hands. It begins with each person's choice to stand up or to stay silent. Nyla paused, gazing out the window. Outside, the night sky stretched infinite, like endless possibilities. She typed her final lines. If a single slap can change an entire industry, imagine what would happen if each of us dared to say no. Justice is not a privilege. Justice is a birthright. And from today, justice will fly with us. She hit publish. The intercom echoed, "Cabin crew, prepare for take, off." The plane trembled, then surged into the sky. High above, the heavens opened wide, embracing a flight named Justice. In this world, sometimes a single slap can expose the deepest prejudices. But from that very slap, a revolution can also begin. Nyla Carter turned a moment of humiliation into a flame that lit up the entire aviation industry and left us with one question. When faced with injustice, will you stay silent or will you rise? If this story resonates with you, hit like to spread the message, subscribe to follow the next stories, and in the comments, leave exactly 2 words: choose change. Because change does not wait for anyone. It begins with you.